Difference in Jesus Christ in today's gospel, the Pharisees and the scribes were asking Jesus or accusing Jesus of why Jesus and the disciples were not following the traditions of the elders. So they were not having food without hand wash. So before washing their hands, they began to have the food, and which was not lawful in the sight of any Jew, because there are plenty of rules and regulations they have, particularly for washing of hands before any meals or any discourse during in the middle of any discourse and so on, because those rules and regulations were there. So here, for a Jew, a law meant two things. First and the foremost, the Ten Commandments. Secondly, the first five books of the Old Testament, which is called as Pentateuch. So these, for them, law meant these two things. So for Pentateuch, Pentateuch, when you take, it is true that Pentateuch contains lots of rules and regulations, which every Jew must follow in his day-to-day life. And before Jesus Christ was born, about fourth century, there came the expert of the laws. They are called as scribes. These people began to expand the law. So what they know that they took the great principles and amplified, modified, expanded, broken down, and until they issued in thousands and thousands of little rules and regulations governing all manner of life, all process of life, also divisions of life. So these things they were making rules and regulations. They also say it as oral rules and regulations, or oral law. It will be only in talking, it will be only in saying. So these things they had to follow. Regarding this hand washing before any meal, the interest is not in the hygienic purity. Their interest is on ceremonial cleanness. Okay, that was their interest. That is what we have to notice it, because if any Jew this failed to do this particular law, he was like, he will not be guilty of bad manners. He will not be guilty of bad manners. He will not be dirty in the health sense, but he will be unclean in the sight of God. This was what they meant in those times, dear friends. So here, as the Jewish people or the Pharisees and the scribes were having these rules and regulations, like burdensome, or putting burden on the people, and not considering the value or the dignity of human beings. So Jesus began to condemn them. He began to condemn them, saying that, okay, why simply you follow the rules and regulations, but God does not, depend or look at you because you follow the rules and regulations, but He looks at your heart. And He was accusing them like, okay, with their ingenuity, they are substituting their own ingenuity with the law of God, or with the words of God. With the words of God, already in the Pentateuch, rules and regulations are given. Why do they want to add more? Why do they want to amplify it? Why do they want to expand it? Why do they want to broken it down in thousands and thousands of little rules and regulations? Why should they do that? Since they were doing like that, they were substituting the law of God or the words of God. And Jesus was telling them, you are hypocrites because you are doing these things. And these things, if they do like that, it is very clear that, okay, it is very clear that we have to listen to God. It is not that we have to speak and God has to listen. We have to listen to God. That is what Jesus means in today's gospel, dear friends. So as you look at today's gospel and reflect about it, two things we can learn. Hand washing is compulsory. It is a must if you go for health sense. If you go for health sense, then you have to wash your hand. You cannot simply put your hand into the food if you when you go out. And at this point of time, there are plenty of viruses there, coronavirus, omicron virus, and it is being it is taking many variants, and many problematic. So you cannot just keep your hand on the food. That is not what Jesus means here. What Jesus means is that you are following the laws, but you no need to add, because the word of God is the word of God. The law of God is the law of God. You cannot substitute the law of God with your rules and regulations, because God's is unique and it is there. You cannot bring it down. And this is what Jesus is meaning from today's gospel, dear friends. So as we follow Jesus Christ in our day-to-day life, through our devotions, through our prayer before Him, so we need to realize that always we have to give preference to God. The word of God has to be given preference, not my word, not my action. So let us practice this in our day-to-day life, and God will bless us abundantly with His graceful blessings. Thank you.